As much as I should have just let my Oblivion remastered adventure unfold organically, I must confess that I was just too eager to see the cities. So straight away I traveled to every city in the entire game to drench my eyes in Cyrodiilic beauty. Here at Fudge Muppet, we love all the cities in Oblivion. However, Scott and I thought it would be fun to rank them, and after a lengthy discussion, we've compiled the winners and losers into a super subjective order that will no doubt be considered full of hot takes by some and entirely accurate by others. It would be easiest to describe as our coolest cities to experience, encompassing not only aesthetics, but also quests, characters, lore, personal memories even, and of course overall vibe. I think we'll enjoy the comment section on this one, so let us know where you agree and disagree. The least hot take is in fact the hottest city, and that is Kvatch. It's cool to catch in the distance while exploring, but of course up close it is ablaze and in ruins, devastated by forces spilling out from Oblivion. Streets of blood and cinders, packed with Daedra and devoid of mortal life. It has the feel of a large city that wouldn't be finished in time for game release, and was therefore destroyed, used as a centerpiece early on in the main story. It was cool to help Savli and Matthias and then discover Martin here for the first time, and I will say that in the battle for Castle Kvatch, I appreciate the unique interior layout of the Great Hall where the throne is, with the staircases sweeping up behind it to the room that leads to the Count's chambers. It is completely distinct from the castles you visit in every other city, but of course it's not functioning very well and definitely not cool enough to have Kvatch find itself at any other rank. Just don't wait until you're level 20 to battle for the castle, or you're in for a massive Daedra slaying slog.
Did you know Kvatch had the only arena in Cyrodiil outside the Imperial City? All gone now, though. Just smoke and mud and rubble.
Apparently, every city in the game was meant to have an arena, though this idea didn't make it into the final version for the game's release, and we're ranking on what we actually get. In Kvatch, that destroyed arena is technically there in-game. Revisiting the refugee camp on the outskirts of the city is pretty nostalgic for anyone who played the original, and it was cool that in the deluxe edition, the Priest of Akatosh reveals he is a representative of the Order of the Hour, providing the quests that lead him to name you a Paladin of the Hour and grant you gear befitting the hero of Akatosh. But let us move on to what will be considered by some to be one of the more controversial ranks in this video. In spot number 9, we have Chorrol, and before you turn the comments section into Kvatch, I do want to remind you that we still love Chorrol, we just love the other cities more. Chorrol is that kind of classic medieval city in a fertile woodland. It's beautiful to look at, the great forest around it is a scenic place to ride your horse through. I like the statue of the second era healer, Saint Osla, ministering to the fallen at the sack of Senkator, and of course there's the Great Oak. This Colovian city also features some neat quests, and I'm not talking about the one where you go to investigate the stolen painting at the castle. I have fond memories of the Killing Field, where you go in place of Valus Odil to protect his farm from goblins alongside his sons, though perhaps that's because you gain Chillrend as your reward, and I was obsessed with that sword back in the day. There's the Fingers of the Mountain quest you can get wrapped up in on mage playthroughs, and most notably, a shadow over Hackdirt begins in this city, which would be one of our top 10 side quests in the game. It's just so creepy. I have fond memories of beginning Fighters Guild quests here, and bonding with the Dark Elf Guild champion Modron, who lives over in the poorer side of town, and definitely enjoyed the Dark Brotherhood quest that goes down here, where you fake Francois Mortieri's death to help him escape from Hides His Heart. There's also uniting the Germain brothers, helping them reclaim their childhood home, and later on seeking out the Honor Blade of Chorrol for Fathus Yules. Many players are bound to associate Chorrol with very early memories of playing Oblivion if they went here immediately after arriving at Wayne Priory not too far away, though the first thing I did was go to the Imperial City. Chorrol itself is pretty, but we rank it at 9 as it just doesn't have much of a unique edge. Every other city in the game has a specific aesthetic and vibe that makes it special, but Chorrol, at least to us, would be the plain biscuit in this pack of assorted cookies. While it may be a bit of a blue cheese kind of taste we've acquired over time, it just feels like any distinct personality that Chorrol possesses is more so due to an absence of one. While that may be the point, to stand out by being more generic, we can't help but rank the more distinguished ones higher. There's also a lot of unused space. Oblivion is an older game with smaller cities and fewer things than you'd hope for in a modern release, but the layout of its cities can have a significant impact on the feel you get when you experience them. Chorrol is rather open, and if we use the camera to zoom out, it's easier to see what I'm talking about. As much as I love a walk in the park, there's just a lot of unused space everywhere, making the place feel a bit sparse. Even if it may have the same amount of stuff as some other cities on paper, the way it's designed doesn't make it feel that way when you're playing, whereas cities with narrower streets can create a tighter, more crowded feel, like there's more going on, or use grassier areas for actual reasons like wine pressing, blacksmithing, or for a graveyard like they do in Skingrad. One final thing which I actually love is Crumbling Mine just outside the city walls, where bandits have been trying to make their way into a sewer system under the city, and the only way to see that is to go fly through the wall with console commands. I will say it was actually hardest to rank the bottom 5 here in this video.
Imperials hate Dark Elves. Dark Elves hate Imperials. Imperials hate that a no-name Lalu trader got made into a count.
In spot number 8, in Cyrodiil's East, we have another controversial pick, the Nibonese city of Cheydinhal. This one could easily win the prettiest city award for a lot of people. There's no denying its beauty on the surface. Narrow bridges stretching over water connecting the different sections of the city, all featuring the iconic Cheydinhal architecture built with wood covered in purple and patterns. It's a sight to behold. Its proximity to Morrowind also means there's a significant amount of Dunmer influence here, especially in the form of criminal ties, which helps boost the uniqueness factor. Even the Count is a Dark Elf. However, here's a super subjective hot take for Cheydinhal. As much as I like looking at Cheydinhal, and I like uncovering its corruption, I just don't really like being here. While the layout looks good, it is a bit awkward to navigate. I don't love the placement of the faction halls tucked away here, and it's hard to feel comfortable enough here to actually enjoy the beauty with all the corruption, but especially with the unfriendly, rude characters everywhere.
By what right do you disturb me? Buzz, buzz, buzz. Go away, little fly.
I train dogs. And people. Prefer dogs.
Surely not everyone is this rude.
Get out of my way before I have you slapped in irons.
Oh, so hard.
Maybe someone else here is friendly.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. I ain't talking to you.
Yeah, you're who? And why do I care exactly?
You is the outside. Just stay outside.
Cheydinhal is infected by a skoomerang working with Morrowind's Commonatong. They love to hang out at Riverview once a week for a grand party that the Count even shows up to, one that you're not invited to, featuring a couple of secret Mythic Dawn members as well. Perhaps you wouldn't want an invitation, not to mention the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary itself hiding beneath the city's surface, and a Mage's Guild Hall with a rather nefarious leader, and an unfortunate associate. Of course, for some builds, like any Dark Brotherhood assassin, Cheydinhal will be your home and serves as the perfect surface world city to hide the iniquity lurking beneath its streets. There are some friendly faces around, like those working in the chapel, certain guild members, and statues, I suppose, like Galarian here. The Fighters Guild can send you on a handful of quests from here, and the Harlan's Watch village you're sent to is close enough to add to the city's atmosphere, not far from a way shrine of Akatosh. There's also the Knights of the Thorn, of which the Count's son is a member, though they seem to be known as a glorified drinking club that not even the guards are fond of. A brush with death is certainly a unique quest worthy of mention, something you never expected the first time playing, and I liked removing that crooked captain of the guard, but overall Cheydinhal feels like a place I'm happy to visit, but also happy to leave. The Nibonese city of Leyawiin comes in next at spot number 7. Placing it above Chorrol and Cheydinhal will be blasphemy to some, but I can't help but love it more for its distinct atmosphere, as seedy and wet as it is. It was probably my least favourite city as a child in Oblivion, but I've grown to appreciate it more since then. As the most southern city on the map, Leyawiin is subject to the climate of the Blackwood region, and while it might not feel like home unless you buy the rather unimpressive residence here, it certainly has a charm of its own. Entering Leyawiin at night and navigating through dimly lit streets to one of its inns or faction halls has an oddly comfortable vibe to it. I also love the contrast here with the less prestigious dwellings near the dank pond Adamus shouldn't swim in, having such a different feel to the colourful multi-story homes with deceptively lavish interiors owned by some other residents. Check out Mahai's house. These Argonians don't need Darjee's humour to get by. They've got a rug hanging above their bed fit for an Atmoran giant and ceilings reaching into Aetherius. I like the verticality within some of the tallest buildings that just keep going up, and the overall aesthetic inside is just not what I'd expect from the outside, in a good way. The hostilities here between Argonians, Khajiit, and Imperials definitely make the atmosphere a little more tense once you gain insight into what's been going on in the region.
I think it's a shame how they took that land from elsewhere, and Argonians are afraid it could happen to them too.
We need some law and order. Bring in the legions. Leyawiin for the Imperials, I say. No sense coddling those Renridra Kryn bandits.
A statue of Xanathar, god of work and commerce, as well as the famous Aldmer explorer Topal the Pilot, are found in Leyawiin, but it's not just lore and aesthetics that make Leyawiin cool. I definitely have some good in-game experiences here. Daedric princes seem to love the place for whatever reason. As you're sent here to find Weebum Nar to locate the Eye of Nocturnal, you're leading scamps out of Rosentia's home and into Dark Fathom Cave after you take the staff of Everscamp off her hands and to a hidden shrine of Sheogorath, and most notably you find your way into one of Alicia Caro's excruciatingly dull dinner parties in Castle Leyawiin to use Sanguine's Stark Reality spell on her and the guests, making you all naked as you run out through the Blackwood region with a few arrows likely finding their way into your back. In retrospect, it's odd that Sanguine finds her boring considering that she's secretly hiding an Argonian torture chamber in the basement. It's a crazy situation you discover when you sneak in to ultimately steal her ring back for a Thieves Guild quest. Leyawiin also has Mazoga the Orc, who you can help and then become a knight with. Despite finding her a bit abrasive, I quite enjoyed uncovering her past as she fulfilled her oath of vengeance and then later on helps you deal with Black Brugo for the Count. There's even the little trafficker quest outside the gate of Leyawiin, which helps further showcase the criminal activity plaguing southern Cyrodiil. Not to mention the Blackwood company operating within the city, who are taking all the contracts from the Fighters Guild, some of who have become drunk and disorderly as a result. And even worse, the Blackwood company have a secret history set up in the basement. Having a large Elder Scrolls audience, I really want to ask anyone who played the original if they remember being thrown to the floor in the battle here with books flying everywhere, because Scott and I both remember this as something that happened when we were kids, but we haven't made sense of it since. While it doesn't happen in the city, I also enjoyed being sent to Frostfire Glade for the Garridan's Tears quest you can get from Sidrasa of the Mages Guild here. In spot number 6, we have Bruma, where harsh Nords live proudly, ruled and proselytized to by Nibbaneans.
The Countess is heartland Nibbanean, and so are most guildsmen and chapelmen, but most others are as Nordish as you'll find.
I'm here to show Bruma's errant Nords the path to the true faith. They must put aside their heathen gods and worship the Nine.
As a child, Bruma and its Nordic inhabitants had an energy that was more mystifying, as we were yet to travel to Skyrim to see what their lands were really like. Now we've covered every inch of Skyrim, we've even gone back to Bruma in the Beyond Skyrim Bruma mod to experience the city with a graphical improvement, so it doesn't hit exactly the same, but we wanted to do our best not to weigh that too much into the rankings. The distinct Nordic feel here definitely does bring Bruma to life, with Nords happy to tell you they're proud of their way of living. Skjorda's drinking habits are no secret to the other inhabitants, and her husband, Ulfund, also seems to share her fondness for a little drink up, as he calls it. We love the cascading structure of all the different houses and still enjoy jumping across snowy rooftops from one street down to the next as much as we used to. Despite some dwellings clearly being better than others, there's something so hearty about all the homes here, and whether you're up in the Chorrol View Inn or down in Olaf's Tappentak, it's comfy vibes all round. With a more clustered feel and plenty of quests to uncover, not to mention main story tie-in content, it just feels like Bruma is home to many events. Basically every district of the city features great experiences in just about every playthrough. There's the excitement of meeting the Grey Fox for the first time, or taking part in the battle outside the city where you close the Great Gate after Martin Septim's epic speech. There's the heaviness of finding Grom grieving after assassinating Baneland for the Dark Brotherhood, or seeing Brayden Lyrian's wife mourn the loss of her husband, who has been framed by a so-called vampire slayer as being one of the fanged monsters, and turned her house into a crime scene. You of course can make wrongs right here. There's the shock of finding out that the Mages Guild has gone up in flames, or that the guard Tyrellius is corrupt, and has actually killed Arnora, who sent you to discover the hidden treasure only her imprisoned boyfriend knew the location of. There's also a speaker of the Black Hand living among the populace. Main story moments like the Spies quest has you bond with the captain of the guard, and of course uncover the cave system the spies were using under the city. You even get a statue of your character built after closing the Great Gate. The Chorrol Mountains area itself has amazing views which can be seen around Bruma, as can Frostcrag Spire, which is not very far, and of course Cloud Ruler Temple, which while not part of the city, is close enough to affect the vibe. The whole Akaviri culture injection is a welcome addition here, fueled by the Countess, who sends you to Pale Pass on a mission to recover the Draconian Madstone, an amulet which looks so cool you might just nab it from the display case she ends up storing it in. We now arrive in the top 5, where we have another one of our more controversial takes, Bravil. I could be persuaded to switch it around with Bruma depending on my mood. This rundown city is not everyone's cup of tea. It's definitely a love it or hate it kind of place, and is even ranked by some as their least favorite city in the game. However, here at Fudge Muppet, we do fall into the love it camp. While I didn't feel comfortable in Cheydinhal because I wanted to relax into the beauty of the city, which proved nothing but a facade, Bravil is as downtrodden and grimy as it appears. I guess in a weird way, it's honest in that regard. Like Bruma, indulging in some parkour is a lot of fun in Bravil, and I can't help but sprint up the outdoor staircases and hop between all the shanty structures here every time I visit. With this chest over here, you can tell it's what the developers had in mind. Bravil's the kind of place that dark, unscrupulous characters and pious heroes can enjoy visiting, either to join in the chaos or clean up the filth. Quests like Caught in the Hunt provide a perfect slice of life in Bravil. I mean, it was obvious that Círdan was an unfriendly character, a loan shark no less. However, who could have expected that Alaron's gambling problem would have him sent off to Fort Grief to be used in a hunting game where people pay to slay mortals? The lucky old lady in the center of town is the perfect statue for the squalor-struck people of Bravil to plead for blessings, and all the more ironic that it hides the crypt of the Night Mother. It's also cool to discover that Ungolem, standing dutifully at the statue so often, is the listener of the Dark Brotherhood itself. Even the Thieves Guild story creates good memories here, and I'm not just talking about visiting the Doyen Scriva or Luciana, the Flirtatious Fence. The castle contains a secret pathway that takes you into the Bravil Wizard's Grotto while helping the Grey Fox, and to the infamous Giant Slaughterfish, providing for one of the most terrifying encounters in the game, at least as a child. The Count is particularly rude, and gives off a corrupt baron kind of vibe, somebody who doesn't care about the inhabitants of his city. His castle is not only separated from the rest of the city by a wooden plank bridge above a large drop down into water below, but the entire city itself is surrounded by a moat, with many watchtowers to spot things from. It would be hard to overthrow a man with such a setup, though definitely not impossible. The many residents committing crimes certainly give the guards a hard job. Even City Swimmer can be caught pickpocketing and slain. If you didn't already hear about it, you can discover that the Count's son, Gellius, tends to leave the good graces of the castle to partake in one of the lower class's favorite pastimes, skooma. Skooma and Bravil go together like the adoring fan and die of rock. It can be found not only sold by Nordenor in this alleyway at midnight, but also being consumed in the open on the upper levels of this building, which of course contains the Skooma Den, full of many people hooked on this terrible stuff and a Breton woman claiming to be helping them. If only they ran around town at super speed like you can. I also love that in such a gritty place, Mara, goddess of love and compassion, is the divine that the city chapel is dedicated to. Similar situation in Riften, really. I also just love this specific window on the Mages Guild, and the Henantier Through a Nightmare Darkly quest you get here is pretty unique too. There's also the Forlorn Watchman quest, and if you find that the ghost gets stuck walking between a tree and a rock, I just want you to know you can nudge him out and continue on to find the mouth of the panther and ultimately lay his spirit to rest. The city kind of has a bit of a Witcher 2 Flotsam vibe at times, but there's just something that makes me want to be there and find out what kind of people call this place home. In spot number 4, we have Skingrad, a beautiful city where a sense of grandeur collides with the hard, honest work of Colovian attitudes. Many NPCs here spend their days creating food and fortune, some even providing goods enjoyed across the rest of the province. Take the Surrey brothers, for example, and Tamika, all who make some of the finest wines at the vineyards outside the city walls, and according to David, Tamika's is actually better. There's also Uras the shepherd, herder of sheep and producer of cheese, and there's Undina, a farmer obsessed with finding the perfect tomato. There's Salmo, the local baker with his popular sweet rolls, Agnet the blacksmith, and of course Sindirian, the ambitious alchemist, who asks you to collect Nirnroot for him and grants you elixirs of exploration in return. But Skingrad is not only home to craft and commerce. There are more concerning characters you can run into, from those asking suspicious questions to others looking down on you. I've been told I am of low birth, apparently, and of course there's our favourite eccentric, Glarthir. The Glarthir quest in Skingrad is a ton of fun, especially if you're role-playing an evil build and actually play into this Bosmer's delusions, killing those he believes are conspiring against him.
Really? They're really dead? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you! I'm free! I'm finally free!
Dion, the guard you can turn him into, is also a memorable face around the place, and whether you've experienced it or not, there's also Nerastoral's house, locked up and abandoned, but crawling with leveled undead. You can bring someone to the street if you're feeling particularly chaotic. Skingrad also houses Rosethorn Hall, a deluxe player home with a riddle to solve for a reward, and of course Summit Mist Manor, though you'll only experience the fan favorite quest here if you're in the Dark Brotherhood. That is one of the downsides of Skingrad, with the player home, collecting Nirnroots, and Glarthir's quest being the only non-faction quest entries that really start here. Skingrad is an epic place, with conical spires stretching to the sky and a welcome mix between open spaces and narrow streets. The balconies in some places are almost touching, like at the Two Sisters Lodge, which we love. And of course, there's the huge castle overlooking the city with great views in all directions, protected by bridge and gatehouse. The Cyrodiilic man of mystery, Janus Hasseldor, has been the Count of Skingrad for many decades. And while the public believe he is shy and reclusive by nature, it is revealed that he is in fact a vampire. Such a revelation isn't obvious unless you're playing the Mages Guild storyline, or the Thieves Guild storyline to an extent, and each will provide quite a different feel. Will you become the slop drudge to infiltrate the castle dungeons, only to find there's a crazy pale lady who takes blood from the prisoners, seemingly based on her dialogue to sustain the Count's vampire wife? Freeing Amuse here is an extremely memorable quest for me, though perhaps you'll be introduced to the Count directly through the Mages Guild story, where he appears in battle to aid you alongside a necromancer ambush. He will then task you with sorting out the situation of vampire hunters who've come into the city, who seem to actually be there for other vampires hiding in a cavern near Skingrad. You may also meet up with the Count when seeking a cure for your own vampirism and help him put his wife to rest. Overall, it's one of the coolest cities in the game, and even has a history to match, the statue of Rislav Larik serving as a reminder of their Colovian roots. That brings us to Anvil, ranked number 3, and originally ranked at number 2 until we changed it last minute, which is kind of because we love it at rank 2 subjectively, purely from an aesthetic and vibes perspective, though we ended up moving it down a rank trying to remain somewhat objective here. You'll see what I mean. For now, just know we absolutely love this Colovian port city in far western Cyrodiil. The Gold Coast architecture here has a kind of Mediterranean charm to it, and the way the sun can hit the place at certain times of the day is just next level. The interiors are very nice. I would love to rest up in some of these rooms. The castle being on a separate island connected by bridge is also very cool, not to mention the intrigue of the missing count and the whole story here with the Grey Fox, who secretly lives in town as the Stranger, cursed to be unrecognizable with no identity. Reuniting him with his Countess wife is a really unique end to the Thieves Guild plot, and the fact that Dunbarrow Cove exists under the castle is also fun to discover. This is one of those player home plug-in type DLCs from back in the day, and you'll be able to go here and actually recruit pirates and send them to plunder and bring back gold for you. Speaking of pirates and the dock area, this place is peak aesthetics for us. There's something so nice about how it's designed, with the painter and lovely views contrasting against the rough sailor vibes who have their own fight club situation going on. Rule 1 being don't get tricked into cheating on your wife by the gang of thieves targeting the city's men. You'll be able to help put an end to these sirens by pretending to be interested in them and going to their farmhouse for a night of fun. Alternatively, they can invite you to join their gang. You'll also be able to receive the enchanted cutlass Redwave if you help recover Valore's crystal ball deep in the Serpent's Wake ship. The other docked ship, the Sea Tub Clarabella, can be entered for a non-journal quest where you can put an end to illegal sheep smuggling. The lighthouse, not far away, is home to Ulfgar Fogeye, and it's a beautiful place to chill, though rather jarringly it seems one of those illegal sheep made its way into the basement, alongside other slaughtered animals, slaughtered people, and of course the severed head of Bellamont's mother. I also like how in Anvil you just fast travel in and bang, the Fighters Guild and Mages Guild are just right there, the former of which has many quests involving residents within the city, and of course who can forget the mysterious mermaid statue, which the game guide calls the Selkie of West Skerry, and gives a little story about, though a source in Elder Scrolls Online claims no one really knows the origins of the statue, and apparently the structure predates the city itself. There's also Benaris Manor, which I very much enjoyed finding out was haunted and going on to discover the lair of the infamous necromancer Lorgren Benaris, and defeating him, removing the curse on the place and making it feel like a steal for only 5,000 gold. Anvil might not feel like the safest place to live, with thieves, drunken sailors, a pirate hideout, haunted ships, a haunted house, and then there's also the chapel attack. The chapel residents have been slain by the forces of Umoril the Unfeathered, their spilled blood used to write a threat.
The blood speaks! I can read the ancient runes if you cannot! By the eternal power of Umoril, the mortal gods shall be cast down.
The prophet gives many speeches that allude to some of our favorite parts of Elder Scrolls lore, though I do wish the chapel attack didn't happen straight away, even if it happened after 10 days in-game or something. And yet, despite all the violence, I can, somehow, relax in Anvil, which just for whatever reason was not the case in Cheydinhal, a beautiful place also plagued with danger. Maybe because the people of Anvil aren't so rude. The Gold Coast itself is just a stunning area, and Anvil sits in it like a perfectly placed jewel, delivering the magic of coastal life that gets me excited for seaside cities in the Elder Scrolls 6. In second place, we have the Imperial City. The Imperial capital has been involved on the timeline so much that you can start to lose appreciation for it, but it is jam-packed with sensational experiences in Oblivion, with heaps of lore and memorable characters, and it features a huge diversity of vibes, hard to achieve in smaller locations due to its multitude of districts and institutions there. It's also beautiful, providing the long-distance money shots in many scenes we've recorded in-game. Not to mention now with the remaster, it's easier to see from a distance all the crumbling forts and alien structures around as you travel across the city's many bridges or just explore the outskirts. I could make a 3-hour video on the city and still have more to say. It has a long history of being ruled by all kinds of individuals, and that really enhances the vibe to us, knowing the context of where we are. but even in-game it remains full of unique people and predicaments. As much as we end up mentally associating White Gold Tower with the Empire and the men who currently rule it, it was of course built by the first Oldma who came to Cyrodiil in the Merethic era and later turned into what we know as Ayleid civilization. The Elysian Slave Rebellion, the Dragon Fires, and the Covenant with Akatosh, the Amulet of Kings, Maruk, the Riemann Dynasty, the Akaviri Potentate, the Longhouse Emperors, the Simulacrum, various Daedric invasions, and countless wars going all the way up until the 4th era when Skyrim takes place. There's no shortage of events that involve the main seat of power in Tamriel. Your journey begins in the prison here, and perhaps you return to pay a visit to a particularly mean Dark Elf. If you get imprisoned or ask the right people about the Grey Fox, you can end up joining the infamous Thieves Guild here and completing many quests, helping out the residents of the waterfront, perhaps buying a shack there, and maybe you'll end up getting the boots of Springhill Jack and stealing an Elder Scroll from the city's palace, a beautiful place on the inside too. Perhaps you sneak in to assassinate a certain ship captain in the waterfront for the Dark Brotherhood, hiding in the cargo, or get stuck on the bloated float when bandits hijack it and take it out to sea. You can place bets at the arena, or more heroically, you can sign up, fighting in front of cheering crowds as you become the Grand Champion. Your opponent has a rather interesting backstory you can unravel too. If you've earned it, you may find your way into the Arcane University here, becoming the Archmage, having fun with custom spellmaking and enchanting altars. Not to mention the massive sewer system you can explore beneath the city, accessible from outside the city walls and also within many of the districts, sometimes through people's basements. These sewers are pivotal in main story quest moments involving the Blades and joining the Mythic Dawn, and even during the ultimate heist. Districts like the Temple of the One are so iconic, especially considering their main story involvement, but other districts like the Talos Plaza district or the Market district are equally as memorable for me. There's also the Arboretum, possessing statues of the 9 Divines, and of course many quests stemming from the citizens living here, helping the merchants sort out Thorinir and putting a stop to the grave robbing, getting the powerful blade Debasa, or perhaps helping Umbacano to recover Ayleid artifacts and discovering that he has a crazy plan to revive what he calls the glorious rebirth of Ayleid civilization, or joining the Order of the Virtuous Blood, becoming a vampire hunter, only to discover you've been tricked. There's just so much to do and we don't have time for all of it, but there's no doubt this is the most city-feeling city of all, full of bustling streets with various NPCs you can interact with from all walks of life, while surrounded by beauty in all directions. While it may appear that we've run out of cities today, there's one more hiding outside the reach of Cyrodiil's inhabitants. The Shivering Isles is a sensational looking realm with some of the most unique mega high fantasy vibes of any game or movie location. If you're crazy enough to venture into the domain of the Mad God, then you'll get to visit him in his palace at our favorite city of New Sheoth.
New Sheoth. My home away from places that aren't my home. The current location is much better than some of the prior ones, don't you think?
The residents outside the Palace of Sheogorath are split into 2 distinct halves, of Bliss and Crucible. It's like 2 cities in one, a melting pot of peculiar individuals, each touched by madness in their own way. The guards can appear the most level-headed, and of course having Daedric guards for your city, the Golden Saints on one side and the Dark Seducers, the Mazkin, on the other, is just so much cooler than the standard mortal guards found in Cyrodiil. New Sheoth is truly out of this world, delivering atmospheres that are dark and twisted, as well as those bright, whimsical, and ecstatic to the point that pleasure literally kills. Bliss is personally my favorite area. It is incredibly beautiful. I love all the greenery around, the different plants, some of them used for alchemy, and this awesome fountain which makes a constant clinking sound, making the place feel a little extra unhinged as you enjoy all the NPCs living here.
The world is devoid of calipers and tongs. I'm using them to build my skyboat. Just between you and me, the hardest part has been getting the water not to fall out of the air.
Did you know that I slept for exactly 237 minutes last night?
Will you help calm amiable Fanrian's paranoia by finding him a place to sleep outside so that his house's walls don't fall down and kill him? Will you recover the Fork of Horripilation for Bighead from the Zealots and Heretics fighting over it? All the houses here have cool interiors, but Big Head's house is especially worth a visit. The usual shops and inns you'd want in a city are around, and of course, the blacksmiths in each side of the city are particularly unique, both having a rivalry with one another.
You have been unfaithful. His blades are dull and uninspired. Mine are sharp and exquisite.
Dumag Grobonk can forge amber armor and weaponry, and I love how the amber really has a kind of transparent nature to it in the remaster, like the real stuff. And then there's Kara over in Crucible, who can create gear from madness ore. The gates taking you from one side of the city to the other are extremely cool, and heading into the darker district of Crucible, you'll be immersed in a sort of Jim Henson's Labyrinth vibe with all this cool ornamentation, things like the hunger-shaped signage, and I love the serpentine torchlights around, and the larger statue down the bottom end of town also featuring serpent motifs. The Dark Seducers actually being nicer and more chill than the Golden Saints, at least in my opinion, makes them more intriguing, and Crucible, while nice in some areas, also features plenty of dirty ponds and puddles you'd prefer to avoid. Both sides of the city have a clustered layout, so the NPCs are more in your face, and there's a great amount of verticality, though Crucible specifically wins in this regard because you can easily access the rooftops and run all over them. You'll find some strange bundles of items around up here too if you go looking. The rooftop bar area with the secret fight club is a favorite spot of mine, and the NPCs will of course need your help with all their unique problems.
The world is coming to an end, but it's nothing to worry about.
I wish someone would just make him disappear.
Will you seek a cure for sickly Bernice, or assist Una Amina by collecting oddities for her museum? Perhaps you'll help put an end to the existence of Hiras Clytumnus. Will you kill or bribe the Khajiit Bisha to help Ushnar, who is terrified of cats, receiving a skinned hound as your reward? Or steal the final breath and literal heart of a thief who just can't quit? Maybe you'll do it all. New Sheoth also features a particularly unique religious building, the Sekelam Arden Sul, instead of the typical chapels found in Cyrodiil. In the DLC, you'll get to explore the differing beliefs the Manics and Demented hold about the Prophet Arden Sul, and even choose a side to change the decorations of the area inside. 2 priests feature here, one for each side, and you may even recognize the name Dervanan as the Bosma you meet in Skyrim's Sheogorath quest, which begins in Solitude. Far more interesting than a Cyrodiilic castle, we have the Palace of Sheogorath, where of course you meet the man himself, the ever-loyal Chamberlain Haskell, and receive the quests related to the DLC's main story. You'll even end up fighting Jiggalag here outside. Not to mention with the House of Mania on one side and the House of Dementia on the other, it's almost like 3 castles in one in terms of vibe. Théoden and Syl both have you wrapped up in the kind of events you'd imagine personify their sides of Sheogorath's realm, and live in equally fitting, well-decorated setups, from cages of death to exquisite gardens and lavish chambers that cater to a highly specific taste. We'd love to see your own subjective rank lists in the comments. Thank you so much for watching what was a very fun video to make, and I look forward to nerding out with you again very soon.